Hey everyone, it's Karina with Kenra Professional, and today I'm really looking forward to sharing all my little tips and tricks to show how I created this beautiful neutral sun-kissed brunette. This is a really great application and an overall great process for those clients that you have that are naturally really dark and brunette, and you just kind of want to, slightly lift them a little bit to really just bring out their natural glow and undertones within the hair. So I can't wait to show you guys. I used our Ultra Ash shades. I used a 5 Ultra Ash and a 7 Ultra Ash to help create the dimension. So stick around so you can see all the things, all the formulas and the application. To start our sectioning off today, we're going in with the simple 5-section sectioning placement here. So I have 2 in the front and 3 in the back. I went ahead and sectioned the back sections off in a little bit of a different sectioning than normal. So I have my nape section here to give me a lot of control through this nape area. The mid section here, which is really going to give us that control that we need as we work through the interior part of the hair. And then the top crown section to help blend and marry the entire depth and surface dimensional work that we're going to do today. And then our 2 front sections here that again we're going to work through adding some dimension and some depth to help kind of just blend this all together. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to begin my application in the nape section here. I'm going to follow her hairline. So as you can see here, everyone always has a little bit shorter, finer hairs around the hairline. So definitely, I'm not going to highlight those. I don't want to highlight directly on the hairline. What can happen sometimes is it can put more emphasis on these hairs and make it look like it's breakage, and it's not. So we're going to jump up a little bit into the interior part of the hairline for this and begin our first oil. Now my client here has all virgin hair. So what is so fun and amazing about having a client in your chair with no color on their hair is that you don't have to go in with an aggressive lightening method. So for her, we're going to be using our Simply Blonde Ultra Ash shade in Pearl, and then I'm also adding our Permanent 7 UA or 7 Ultra Ash to that formula, so that I'm going to get a lot of nice natural lifting, and then that 7 Ultra Ash is going to help with really controlling the warmth as we lift her hair here. So for this first coil, we did a moderate weave, and I'm really just going to feather this up into the hairline because I want to keep this look super low maintenance and overall very natural looking. When you work with high lift color, you typically have more of that soft, diffused out blend. So I'm just gonna feather that up towards the hairline. The goal for her hair at the end is to still look brunette and have like a glistening effect of dimension going throughout. So definitely want to keep her on the neutral cool side with her dimension as well. So that's why I'm going in, not doing too many back-to-backs, and in the hairline I'm a little closer together to keep a pop all around her perimeter when we pull the hair forward. But overall the goal here is to keep her highlighted pieces on the neutral cool side to be really pretty. So I'm going to apply all of my saturation right here in the mids and really just work this product in. Definitely want to have lots of saturation. And then once I've applied a lot of my product, I'm going to go ahead and use my brush to feather it upward towards her root area. And then I personally love to put my foil in more of that pancake style so that I don't get any creases or lines if I were to fold it upward. It's going to help give me a nice even process as I work through the head here. Now, if you're looking to build more of like a money piece type of application here, you could definitely go in with more of your V horizontal to really give you that perimeter highlight. For her, I definitely am staying away from the money piece look with this. I want to keep it more natural looking, a little more classic. So that's why I'm going in with horizontals. And you'll notice I'm pretty much leaving out those corners so that it's, again, working more in the interior part of the hair. And then also if she were to like pull this up and pony it, she doesn't have any real color like living right on the outside of that hairline. So I really want to saturate the hair here. You'll notice I do a sweeping motion back and forth to really spread the hair out and get a lot of product applied. And I'm going to go in and apply through the ends. You can use your tail comb to flip the ends up. You could add a foil if you wanted to. Because I'm working with color and I know that it saturates really well through her texture, I'm going to go ahead and just spiral up my ends here. Also, I'm working with one formula, so it doesn't have to be super stretched out when I'm applying. All right, so that gets us through the nape section. We're gonna go ahead and move into the mid section here. And with this section, I'm really going to respect and just maintain a lot of the depth that she has naturally. I don't want to overfoil this section. So what I'm going to do is go in a diagonal, somewhat of a brick lay. So I'm going to place some of my foils on a diagonal and just kind of brick lay them up as I work up the head, and slightly brick laid V pattern here. So I have my first subsection. You can see we have a nice diagonal back here. And when I'm going in, I'm gonna go in a little bit heavier with my stitches or my weaves to create a little more texture here. I do want slight impact, however, you can see the ratio with how much I'm leaving out to what's actually being foiled. This is what's really gonna allow you to have dimension, but also maintain her brunette look at the end. Definitely don't want to overfoil because that will change the end result and she'll be lighter and look more like a blonde. And we really just want to capture some diffused out dimension for this look. I'm going to go ahead and use my board to help support the saturation because I'm working with a little bit of a more wider big section and it's a little bit higher density, so I definitely want to use my board for this. I'm going to secure the corners here. What can happen when you are working with highlight color or just like adding dimension into the hair with a color type product, it can get pretty heavy, so it's really good if you are able to lock in that foil to prevent any foils from slipping as you work through your color. And we're going to go in and do the same thing that we did in the corner over here, and as we continue to move, they're going to cross paths and brick lay so that everything really just blends seamlessly together. So we're going to go in and do our moderate weave here. All right, and then we're really gonna repeat this process until we make it to the top of this section. So now I'm gonna go in with another diagonal back section, and you'll start to see how they begin to almost collide with each other and begin to brick lay a bit. So I'm gonna continue this process till we get to the top, and then I will show you how to work through the crown section. Now we have completed the entire back section of her hair. So you guys can see that we went in and did some brick lay foils here on a diagonal through that interior, and there's quite a bit of hair left out. This is definitely the goal when you want to add some really subtle soft dimension in the hair. You don't want to, put all of this in foil to change her overall canvas. So we went ahead and worked through her hair. I am gonna move to this top section, and then we're gonna come back and do some light tip outs with a lightener. But let's go ahead and jump to the top crown section. In this section, we are going to move back into that horizontal placement. Reason being is if you just fan the hair out like this, you can see that if we were to continue up with diagonal placements, it could give us less of that highlight effect that we want. By going in horizontally here, we're gonna have more sheet-like highlights through the visual part of the hair here. So when you're working internally, totally fine to go in a diagonal because you can cover more areas on the head quicker, but also it still leaves you with some low light and depth. However, when we're working on the surface here, what's visible to the eye, a horizontal placement is definitely gonna give us more of that highlight visual effect and impact that we're looking for through the top here. And because my client here has a heavy density, she has quite a bit of hair. In this section, you can have anywhere between, 5 foils, even 6 foils sometimes. I think for her, we're gonna get about 5. And somebody with lower density hair, right, you might get 3 foils in there. So you're gonna have a little bit less hair that you're working with. So we're gonna jump right into a horizontal section here. Let me just go back really quick to show you guys also, I kind of jumped past this point where when I ended with my diagonals, I did have a little triangle of hair that I went ahead and left out. This is gonna act as, your fallout hair, and then it puts you right on track for this horizontal subsection that we're gonna do now. So my first foil in the crown area is going to be a moderate weave. First 2 to 3 foils, we're gonna do this exact weave pattern, moderate. And then I do wanna create a little bit of a rooty diffusion here. So I'm gonna back comb. I'm not gonna back comb from the lower ends of her hair because I wanna maintain a lot of density throughout her ends. I really just wanna work with diffusing that root area because we're gonna start to create that low maintenance blend for her as we're getting on the top surface part of her hair. So very, very low back combing for this, just to get that slight diffusion and blend closer to the root. I'm gonna go in with the same formula for these. All of these are 3/4 of an ounce of our Simply Blonde Ultra Lift in the shade Pearl. And I did 1 to 2 with 40 volume, and I did 1/4 of an ounce of our 7 Ultra Ash in Permanent. So the 7 Ultra Ash is really going to help with controlling all the warmth that we are producing by using a 40 volume and an Ultra Lift. So in theory, you're gonna get a longer lifting cycle with your color by using a high lift, but then the 7 Ultra Ash is gonna come in as the hero and really just neutralize a lot of the warmth that we are creating through this highlight process. We're gonna get a little bit of a lift and tone here on these highlights. What's really cool about using Ultra Lifts and color to create dimension on anyone's hair is that it's very controlled. So this is gonna have a processing time of 40 minutes, and then it's going to stop with any processing after that. So I love it because it's definitely a bit more controlled, and it can save you some time behind the chair. And it does also leave you with longer lasting results that are pretty because we're not bleaching and toning, and there's not going to be a fade out necessarily with these highlights. They're going to just lift and tone really pretty, and the maintenance for her is going to be very low maintenance. So that's our first foil. We're going to do our second. These ones you'll notice are going to be a little bit closer together because we are working in the top crown area. You definitely want to be more detailed in your blend and your application here. So I'm going to go in again with that moderate weave, do a little bit of back combing at the root area. So again, instead of back combing all of these little hairs that we see falling out, we want to back comb the ones that we see closer to the root, just to give us a very soft, diffused look. With these effects, you can get creative in how you place your color in your foil as well. If you wanted something super like teardrop effect, you can go in and actually apply your product in a V shape in the foil. So what that's gonna do is give you some depth through the midpoint here. For her look today, I'm not going for a teardropped type of look at the end. I want everything to be kind of classic. So I'm going in and carrying my product up pretty high to give the effect of a classic highlight. But what keeps it really modern is the back combing and of course feathering towards the root. It's gonna keep it modern. As we begin to approach the top here, I'm still gonna take a horizontal section. However, I'm gonna go into more of a baby light effect now, because we really are reaching that top portion of the head. And I really, my goal is to create more of a glisten of a highlight, not so much of a strong ribbony effect. So I'm gonna go in very softly and baby light the next few foils until we complete this subsection here. So you guys can see the difference in weave pattern compared to what we were doing before. And then these last few foils I'm not going to back comb because I did baby light them pretty fine. I'm confident that they will blend out really pretty. So the focus for these last few foils is really just getting a nice feather effect towards the root. But when you baby light, you're creating diffusion just with that technique itself. So sometimes when you back comb a baby light, it will almost diffuse it out too much, and then you lose any little bit of color and impact that you wanted to apply. So definitely not gonna over complicate this and back comb when it comes to baby light. Just keep it nice and simple. Get that product in nice and saturated here. And then I'm gonna repeat this process until I make it to the very top. So I'll come back and show you guys how I'm gonna work through the sides. For control, I'm going to divide this front section into two. So I typically like to start this section off around the parietal ridge area, and density plays a huge role in where you decide to part the hair. So I do want to show you guys really quick my client's hairline. I think that it's really important when you're placing your highlights, you really take into consideration how it's going to fall around their face before placing your foils in. So I noticed that she does have a little bit of a heavier fall forward here. So if I were to go in and do something super structured and super heavy horizontally, starting at the hairline moving towards the top part of the head, this is gonna fall really heavy. All the color is gonna just fall right on top of each other, and it could create a pretty strong front highlight bit for her. I don't want that. I'm not trying to create a money piece for this look. So I'm gonna go in super classic horizontal on her hair here. So again, because I can see how heavy the top portion of her hair is, also her growth pattern tends to grow up in a way this way. So I want to keep that in mind as well, as to where I'm going to go ahead and start this lower part of my highlight and foil application. So I'm going to go ahead and get a nice horizontal parting. I'm going to work in the lower portion here, and honestly I'm gonna skim her hairline just to get any baby hairs or little shorter hairs out of this first foil. And I'm going to go in horizontally and create a smooth dimension here. Again, because I'm going in super soft-handed, I am not going to be backcombing any hair through these front sections. It's not necessary. We're just going to go in horizontally and then very gently getting some nice soft stitches here. So very, very fine. I'm going to go right up to the hairline. And although we are going to create a rootier effect on this bottom half of my section, I'm going up to the hairline because as her hair falls, I do want the color to live higher on the lower part of her head. So when it comes forward, you have more color higher up. As I begin to work through the top section, I am going to feather up in this top section so that she does have more of a drawn out root, but we aren't losing any color through the bottom portion by applying it a bit higher just through these foils. So I'm going to leave quite a little bit of hair in between. So we're going to get about 3 foils in this section here. Again, push out any little baby hairs and then go straight into my baby light. Keeping it nice and soft. Getting my foil nice and snug on the scalp. And really just laying that color on the hair. Foil. When you're working with color, also getting it on the root, you won't experience the color swelling in your foil, so that's kind of a tip. I know sometimes with lightener, we tend to lay off the root a little bit more because it swells up a bit. With high lift color and foil, you're not going to experience that, so it's okay to do a very, very thin layer at the root. Sometimes when you have hardly any product on your brush, you can set your brush on the hair and on the foil and just kind of shimmy it just to give it some product without oversaturating too high. All right, and then that's going to complete that lower half of my front section. As we move into the top here, we're going to continue on that horizontal placement and subsection. The one thing that I'm going to change as I work up is my weave pattern. I'm going to do a baby light and then kind of start to build it out into a bit of a heavier weave, so it's going to be nice and diffused and blended around that front hairline, and then get a little bit stronger contrast through the back side of this. So that's going to be one difference. The second thing is going to be how high I place my product in the foil. So the last 3 foils we went all the way up to the root. This foil I'm going to start it a lot lower, about 1 inch off the scalp. Lightly feathering it up, but again keeping it lower than the foils that are underneath. Next section, horizontal, same weave pattern. We're just gonna apply our product even lower this time. So last time we were about 1 inch off the scalp. This time we're gonna go to about 1.5 inches. Because when her hair is all done and it's finished, my goal is not to create strong contrast. I really want to create softness. And if we go super high with all her highlights, she's gonna have highlight, low light, highlight, low light. It's gonna look too structured. So that's why I definitely wanna keep playing with the different heights in my foil, just to ensure that this looks as natural as possible in the end result. All right, so you can see the front weaves are a little bit finer, and then the weaves towards the back get a little bit heavier. So I'm going to continue this process till I make it to the center part here. Then I'm going to jump to my other front section, and I'm going to do the same exact weave pattern through the lower, same exact weave pattern and process through the top. So I'll go ahead and bring her back, and we're going to do a little bit of tip outs. We're going to move into adding a bit more dimension. Not quite a tip out because I am going to be applying my lightener a little bit higher. So not focusing it only on the tips here. I'm going to go about up to the mid lengths on these pieces. So what I'm doing is I'm going to start with the interior part of the hair, which is that midsection in the back. You guys can see we have maintained a lot of depth through here. So I definitely want to go in, just add a little bit of pops of lightener to help really bring this color to life. I don't want anything too strong around the hairline, so I'm not going to do anything around the hairline. I'm going to focus a lot in this interior section of the hair, because we are working with a lot of density here. I'm going to use our Simply Blonde Beyond Bond lightener for this. The reason why I'm choosing this lightener is because it does provide a bit more control. It's not going to be the quickest lightener, which is why I love it. I want to maintain a lot of control with this application, but also I want to not generate too much lift here. I'm not trying to get her blonde, so it's going to allow for that control. It does have dual bond technology in it, so it's also going to do a great job at maintaining the integrity of her hair throughout the lightening process. So going in with the Simply Blonde Beyond Bond and 10 volume at a 1:2 ratio. So what I'm going to do is add my foil, kind of like sandwich it in between the density of the hair that we left out. So in each subsection we have quite a bit of hair, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that foil in between, like a sandwich in between the hair here. I'm going to back comb these, and this I do want to create a lot of diffusion. I would like to maintain still some depth here, so I am going to start my back combing a lot lower towards the ends. That's going to give us maximum diffusion, which is what I really want. So you guys can see how much that helped to blend out and diffuse this subsection that we have. So I'm going to go in and take a bit heavier weaves here. So anywhere from 3 to 4. I'm going to go for 4 so that I get a bit more contrast, a little bit of a ribbonier effect here. And it's going to be sandwiched in between two basically low lights, which is her natural hair. It's going to be sandwiched in between that. So it'll make for a really beautiful application, just to kind of glisten through that depth. And as I'm applying my lightener, I am going to do more of a V placement here to really just help with maintaining some depth. And because her hair is super long, you guys can see this is not quite a tip out. It's gonna be a teasy light type of highlight twist. So I'm gonna go in between this next bit of hair here, and again create more of that sandwich-like subsection within this one section. So skim the top there, do another skim through the middle, and then go in and back comb, starting pretty low down in the hair here. And then very intentionally get that back comb nice and established. And I like to just use the brush. It already has that edge on it, so if you angle your brush, you can kind of create that V utilizing your tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue this process. Do about another couple of foils here as I work through my brick laid diagonal back sections and through this interior. And then I will jump to the front and do a couple of these same foils to really blend and marry it all together from the interior into the front, and then we'll let her process. Okay, we completed our entire foil application. Just to recap what we did, we went in with our Ultra Lift and Pearl. We did that with our 7 Ultra Ash and 40 volume, 1:2 ratio throughout her entire head, basically through the nape all the way up to the crown. We did those horizontal sections, a variation of different weave patterns and baby lights, similar application through the sides, and then we went ahead and ended it with some lightener foils in there, teasy light application to really just bring this all to life. Specifically did those teasy lights through the interior of the hair, guys, so really that midsection, and then maintaining that midsectioning through the sides for those teasy lights. We're gonna let her process for about 25 minutes, and then we'll bring her back before we do her root shadow and her overall tone. We went ahead and let her foils process for 25 minutes. I also removed those, went ahead and shampooed her hair twice with our Kenra Triple Repair shampoo and conditioner. So now we're gonna go in with the second part of this process, which is her color application. I'm gonna go in with our 5 UA, 5 Ultra Ash, to give her a little bit of shading in her root area. But you guys can see how beautiful the 7 Ultra Ash just very so softly highlighted her hair here. So we have some really beautiful glistening dimension. We're gonna just really tie it all together, put the cherry on top by, again, just doing a slight little root tap here, and then going in with a all over glaze. To start off this process, I'm gonna do a standard 4 quadrant sectioning. You guys can see I'm very gently tapping the root here. So I'm not doing a super drawn out root. I think we got a very beautiful, soft, diffuse highlight blend. So I don't need to drag anything down. I want to, again, keep her a little bit more classic looking. So slight root tap here. I'm gonna go in and line the perimeter of my quadrants by just really outlining and tapping each quadrant as I work through it. And then I'm gonna do diagonal sections here. I feel like this is the way I get the most control personally, so feel free to approach this however is comfortable for you. But again, I really like to go in diagonal when I'm applying my root tap. So I'm going to continue this process pretty much throughout the entire head here, and then apply her mid-length to ends glaze, and then we will bring her back to show you the full completed look. Now that we have completed her root tap everywhere, I did use our permanent 5 Ultra Ash with 10 volume. It's really gonna help us to create some nice shading in that root area and take a little bit of that natural golden cast that she had when she came in. Her overall tone and glaze is Demi-Permanent 8 NUA, 3/4 of the 8 NUA to 1/4 of our 8 GB Demi-Permanent. I did it at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume. We're gonna let this process for 20 minutes, and I will bring her back when she's all styled so you can see the end result. I hope you guys really took away some fun tips and tricks throughout this tutorial. And remember, you guys, you don't always have to reach for your lightener if you want to create some really soft diffusion and just dimensional highlight work in your client's hair. We went ahead and used our 5 Ultra Ash and our 7 Ultra Ash, you guys, to create all of this beautiful dimension that you see. So again, hopefully this inspires you to try something a little bit different on your client next time, and always great opportunity to really just add that nice little hint and glow to your brunette colors. So I hope you found this inspiring, and if you want to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to Kenra Professional YouTube, and we'll see you next time.